He just glanced into the cave and was startled to discover that there was a motionless cowboy inside. No matter how loudly he shouted, the man showed no reaction. This instantly piqued his curiosity. So he decided to go in and investigate. For safety's sake, he tied a hemp rope to a rock, then motioned for his dog to lead the way. Unexpectedly, the dog seemed particularly frightened, cowering in the distance and refusing to take even a single step forward. He had no choice but to suppress his fear and enter alone. But after taking just a few steps, he suddenly felt as if something was blocking his path. Puzzled, he reached out and felt his way forward. It seemed as though a peculiar wall of air currents had completely sealed off the cave from the outside world. This eerie scene left even the archaeologist John baffled. Yet it only intensified his curiosity. So, without a second thought, he walked inside. But just as he crossed this wall of air currents, he was horrified to discover that the cowboy was slowly moving. And as he ventured deeper into the cave, the cowboy's footsteps grew faster and faster. Before long, he vanished from sight. Even more eerie was that ever since he'd stepped into the cave, the light outside had begun to flicker incessantly. Before John could figure out what was going on, a terrifying roar echoed from deep within the cave. In that instant, he was scared out of his wits. He fled toward the cave entrance without looking back. However, the moment he stepped out of the cave, he was stunned. It had clearly been broad daylight before he entered. He'd only been inside for 2 minutes, yet outside, it was already pitch black. Even the dog outside had vanished. Not only that, but everything around him had changed. As if decades had passed, he immediately rushed toward his car, only to find that it, too, had become dilapidated. The body was completely overgrown with weeds and vines. Without a moment to spare, he started the car, hoping to escape this eerie place. But to his surprise, the battery was dead. Just then, he noticed his work ID. All these signs suggested that decades had passed. Puzzled, he began searching the area for clues. He spotted an SUV parked nearby. John planned to remove its battery for his own use. However, when he got closer, he discovered that this vehicle was just as dilapidated. John clearly remembered that when he first arrived here, this car hadn't been parked there yet. But then, a backpack inside the vehicle instantly caught his attention. It was his student Nick's backpack. Only then did John realize the gravity of the situation. He surmised that after he entered the cave, his worried students had come looking for him, and all signs pointed to the fact that they had also gone into the cave. With that in mind, John turned back toward the cave, and, summoning his courage once more, stepped inside. To prevent getting lost inside, he tossed glow sticks onto the ground as he walked, so he wouldn't be unable to find the exit on his way back. However, just as he passed through the wall of air currents, the glow stick mysteriously floated into the air. He instinctively reached out to grab it, but the glow stick began to move slowly with him, only dropping once he had passed through. At that moment, the cave entrance began to flicker between light and dark, and the terrifying screech rang out once more. But this time, he didn't back down. Instead, he resolutely pressed onward into the depths, because his students were likely inside. It turned out that John was a professor in the archaeology department. Whenever he had free time, he would go on expeditions into the wilderness, in search of his missing parents and younger sister. This was because an ancient secret was said to be hidden here. Legend had it that within a certain cave lay a fountain of youth capable of bringing the dead back to life, whether it was a terminally ill patient, or a corpse that had long since died. Anyone who bathed in the waters of the Fountain of Youth would eventually be granted new life and eternal youth. John's parents, in an effort to save his younger sister, set out on a journey to find the Fountain of Youth. More than 10 years have passed since then, and the three of them have vanished without a trace. That day, he finally discovered his parents' car, along with a family photo inside. Not far away, he found this eerie cave, so he decisively crawled inside. But what John didn't know was that the moment he first crossed the air current wall, 3 days had already passed on the outside. Seeing that the professor hadn't returned, the students decided to go look for him. They even brought 2 children along with them. But when they finally made it here, all they found was a dilapidated car, and a piece of hemp rope lying beside it. Following the rope, they discovered a cave. The group surmised that the professor must have entered through there. They immediately lowered a rope, intending to climb down, leaving only the timid boy at the top. Before long, they, too, encountered the wall of air currents. At first, they didn't think much of it, but just as they shone their flashlights around to search for him, a terrifying, hissing roar echoed from the depths of the cave. It sounded as if some terrifying creature were lurking there. This instantly terrified them, and they scrambled back up the rope. But just as they were halfway up, the rope suddenly snapped, and fell and landed right on top of Nick, who was below. The impact fractured Anne's leg, and Nick's wrist was also injured in the fall. The group had no choice but to look for another exit. Soon, they found another opening. Seeing this, Anna climbed onto a rock to investigate. She discovered that there was a broken hemp rope here as well. But just as she looked down along the rope, she witnessed an extremely horrifying scene. Behind the rocks lay the boy's corpse. Could it be that someone had cut the rope from above, causing him to fall to his death? Soon they found the boy's camera, which had been recording the entire time. To determine the cause of the boy's death, the group quickly projected the footage onto a screen. But the more they watched, the more puzzled they became. Because in the video, the boy claimed he hadn't been able to contact them for several days. The group was baffled by this, since, based on the timestamp on the boy's recording, they had only just climbed down into the cave at that point. Yet several days had passed outside. Time inside the cave simply didn't align with the outside world. During this time, The boy also discovered John's car and found an ancient book inside the car. It recounted the story of a queen who, to save her dying husband, sent an expedition here to search for the Fountain of Youth. In the end, the entire expedition mysteriously vanished. Soon after, he also recognized the professor's father's handwriting. It turned out that the professor had come here to search for the legendary Fountain of Youth in order to save his terminally ill daughter. But the group inside the cave was completely dumbfounded because, judging by the footage, several days had already passed outside. Yet only half an hour had elapsed inside the cave. But the footage was so vivid it didn't seem fake. Soon, the boy reached the 7th day, and their supplies had been completely exhausted when he spotted an opening nearby. He decided to enter the cave to search for them. Little did he know that shortly after he descended, the sky outside began to change rapidly. The very next second, the rope suddenly snapped. Seeing this, everyone was overcome with grief. At the same time, the whole situation was simply too unbelievable to figure out exactly what had happened. Anna decided to climb out with her bare hands to investigate, but just as she was halfway up, she felt the air currents constantly shifting. When she finally crawled out, she was left speechless with shock. The forest that had once been there had now turned into a barren wasteland.